Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, and I'm doing a story time video because I just think I love watching them and they're really funny and really bizarre sometimes. So, you saw my cat last week in the last week's video, which will be linked if you press the eye up here. There will probably be a box around me, and then it will be in the description below of the link to my furry friend tag, which is about my cat, Jinx. So this is pretty much 2 or 3 stories on how I almost murdered my cat. So let's get started. So the first story is the first one. Cats have 9 lives, you've almost lost them already. But the first one is when we were back in my old house, like before I ever moved in. If you don't know, I've moved too many times to count, which I'll put in a draw of my life someday. In my first house that I would say grew up in, I spent the longest time in there. We had this kind of like balcony thing, but like an indoor balcony. It's really weird, but just go with it. So it was an indoor balcony, and he was a kitten. He was probably like a year old or something. And the railing was about cat-sized. And this balcony looked out. It was on the 2nd floor, and it looked out down into like the walk-in area. No easy way to explain it. It was a really weird looking house now that I think about it. But it was like kind of gated off, but it was definitely big enough for him to like fall through. So me and my brother, we were about 7 and 10 maybe. 7 and 10. We were about 7 and 10 at the time, not at the age, at the time, and we were trying to get him. He's not a nice cat, and we found that out at a very early age. So he was like running away from us, and we like chased him upstairs because we were trying to pick him up. And then he kind of like ran really close to the railing, and we're like, oh my gosh. And then he was really close to the railing, and if he would have fallen, it would have been 2 stories because he would have fallen from the first to the second on to tile. So yeah, really bad. So then he weaves through, and I think he thinks about it because he kind of just like stands there, and then he falls off 2 stories, hits the ground, which is tile, on his side. And we're all like, oh my gosh. And we were like, what do we do? He was fine, which was very weird. But he didn't even land on his feet. He landed on his side. And we were like freaking out. We were just like, what do we do? What do we do? Like, he could have died. And my mom called the vet and all that jazz. But he was fine. He just had a limp for like a month maybe. But I was just like, this cat. So the moral of the story is my cat tried to commit suicide when he didn't want to be held. Next story, story number 2. So the next story is also about me because I just don't know how to handle a cat. I think it was in the same year. I was 7. So I was 7 and I was pretty special, I guess. So he had this toy. If I find a picture, I may insert it somewhere. But he had a toy, and it was like a fish, and then it was like a white wire, not wire, but like string on a stick. It was a very simple toy. And he loved that toy. So, you know, you'd play with him and all that jazz, and you'd just play with him, and he'd chase the fish and all of that. You know the situation. Same year, I'm not sure if it's after or before, but same year, he is chasing the fish, and then since it's white and his mane is white, the fur around him, it's like pure white. So I accidentally get it stuck around his neck and pull up like I was hanging my cat. And then somehow 7-year-old Segovia thought it was like a party trick or something. So then I show my mom. And I'm just like, Mom, look! And then my mom's just like, oh my gosh, he's not moving. And then she's just like, get him down. And I'm like, okay. So bad. It's so bad. You like don't even know. It was so bad. Like now looking back on that, I don't even know what to say. Like you can't explain yourself out of that one. Yeah, so those are the 2 times I almost murdered my cat. I hope you enjoyed them. Actually, I'll add a bonus story in here. It's only going to be a little story. But story number 3, story number 3 is, I guess I'll just make this a pet story time video. But story number 3 is that when I was little, I had goldfish. I feel like everybody had goldfish. You know, you'd always have goldfish and name them and all that. Since I was a fragile soul, just like a dove but with paper bones, with bone deficiency on top of that, that was pretty much my soul. I was very fragile as a kid. Like, everything made me cry, everything made me upset, everything scared me. Courage the Cowardly Dog scared me. Batman scared me. I just don't even know what to say. I was a sensitive soul. And I'm not even talking like 4. I'm talking like 7, 8, 9. And even 11. I was very sensitive. So, moving on. We had fish. And we had a lot of fish. And we probably had way more than I could even recall. Even more than I can recall. We probably had even more fish than I could ever recall of us having. So we always got like goldfish, pretty much, because you know they're easy to replace. Shh, don't tell the children. But they're really easy to replace, you know, because they kind of all look the same. If you know what store you got it from, like Petco or something, you're gonna know that you're probably just gonna get the same generic goldfish and no one's gonna know. So, fish don't have a long lifespan. They probably have about 2 or 3 weeks before they, you know, kick the bucket. So, they don't have a long lifespan. My parents didn't let me know that, or my brother. So, for us, our fish would last like 2 years, or 6 months at least. So, putting that in mind, every time they died, we were probably at school. So my parents would run out, replace them, and act as if nothing happened. So I was probably calling a fish Goldie that was probably like Goldie number 5. And I think that's just like the funniest thing now that I look back at it. But the fact that I could not tell the difference was just saying that I'm not a true pet owner. Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, and my parents finally told us about it like a year or 2 ago, and they're like, yeah, Goldie was probably Goldie number 5, and I'm just like, R.I.P. Goldie. But yeah, Goldie was probably Goldie number 5, that's all I have to say. Just gonna put it out there. And the moral of that story is, my parents care. Thank you for watching my storytime video, and I hope to see you next Sunday. Bye!